Hello and welcome. Carlton have hit the bye rounds with a record of 4-7, and the mediocrity that comes attached with that record is about as accurate as you can get with the on-field product. In the same old story, Carlton dominated a number of key categories, and yet still ended the inferior side on the day. Amidst this performance, I think we saw some of our leaders get turned up by our youngsters, which is never a good sign. I'm not sure if this game was necessarily an offensive nightmare for the Blues, but rather GWS's ability to score hyper efficiently, something that is consistent with their daring and pacey game style. In a game where this was the case, errors were costly. Not only did they enable this giant efficiency, pun intended, but it meant Carlton couldn't go punch for punch with the opposition. I'm really not obsessed with heavy or light numbers this week, but rather the quality of possessions you do get. And it really felt like that quality of possession from our leaders was superseded by the value of the youngsters. And so today, we're looking to break down that dynamic and understand how that played a role in the outcome of the game. And I want to begin with Cooper Lord, who hasn't been afraid to step up. A solid performance as sub with a vital fourth quarter goal against St Kilda, followed up by a performance which would have had him as Carlton's best when they were performing at their best against the Swans last week. Something that led to a Rising Star nomination. A game where his polished disposal was on full display. Something, time and time again, our players haven't been able to do. And I think one of Carlton's main problems is the lack of IQ across the board, with the leaders not an exception, which we'll showcase today. But I don't think we fall short in this respect with Cooper Lord. Yes, he got fended off a couple of times, made an error trying to fend off himself, but I still don't think that means there were any exceptions to the rule on the weekend. Lord's kicking is fourth on Carlton's list for threat, up there with Jack Silvani, who's proven his worth, and Matt Cottrell, who, when he was playing, was an inside 50 accumulator and was creatively hitting targets. This checks out with Lord. While I find that some of the kicking is partially off, I can actually see thought and a strong level of composure about the kicking he attempts. Like here, he knows to slip to the perimeter and almost slices the kick. The kick is offline, but he's seen an advantage, directed his kick towards it. It's just a shame there's no ability to neutralize the only obstacle in the way. And GWS actually rebound to kick a goal due to this shallow entry. I love Lord's availability to get involved. This guy's always working hard, and it checked out with his goal against the Saints the other week. I think this is where his IQ really shows, doing well to anticipate where he can get involved next, and doing so very reactively. Check out this first quarter example, where his viability as an option isn't here, nor is it here, and then he works out wide again to present, which also isn't on. But Lord holding position is smart. As Carlton go more central, this sends these giants further centrally in correlation as they rotate around. That means there's more weight on the giants further back to cover the space off on the side they just left. Lord holding position means an outnumber surfaces, and this is where numbers can be drawn wide to favour that more central option. A little bit of patience, and now you've advanced to half forward. Don't get me started on the dropped mark, but that's good wing play by Lord and persistence to remain involved, benefiting the team, and he's got a knack of doing this in a variety of different scenarios. Here's Lord again, positionally, this time at a wing stoppage. He's perfectly positioned to prevent that Briggs tap from finding one of these two giants, and did well to remain composed, swivel, draw men in, and now at the front of the stoppage, this is the dynamic. Walsh even has time to fumble and then dish it off, with the Giants still yet to close. You can kick it deep. Aaliyah is running back with the flight as opposed to running and jumping, which was a clear strength of his, and the ball spills. Carlton remain upstanding and benefit as the ball is fed out to a man front and centre. A lack of composure at the contest, whether that be a shit kick or a rash handball, could have broken down this play before it even began. He is something that meshes a lot of components of his game together. This is where he starts at the stoppage, and as the play rolls, he's the relief for Nick Haynes running in towards the corridor. The Haynes fumble compromises him of time, but he absorbs pressure brilliantly despite the condensed nature of the play. And in freeing the arms and getting it to Chera, now Carlton are in the clear at the front of stoppage with more numbers, using handball to draw Giants in and free up the next in the chain. It's sheer blasphemy that Corey Durden doesn't get used, and we will touch on this senior player decision making in a short while. But Cooper Lord, take a bow, because without serving as the relieving option and then absorbing that pressure for later gain, Carlton don't get this chance. Another example of volume not necessarily equaling output was Ollie Hollands. Now, Ollie had a quiet start to the match, but on this centre clearance, his involvement is valuable. The contest is won out the front of the stoppage, and Carlton have two half forwards rolling up, which has one Giant committing to defend up at the ball carrier. Hollands receives the handball, and Joe Fonte has rolled up, leaving Fogarty out back. In a situation like this, it's very easy to just slam it on the boot, or as Ollie sometimes does, hospital hand pass, because it would be very easy to hit Walsh first up. By holding fractionally longer on the handball, it allows the outside to be accessed without interruption, favours the right footer, and also off the ball, Curnow's diverted his run back to goal, meaning a pass to Fogarty can sit up a little longer, with no help to roll over. That's a very simple bit of nuance, but so effective. On the flip side, man, were some of our leaders disappointing. Players running too far, players bombing away, dropping marks, players making shocking errors, players just vanishing after early match impact. And it starts with Jacob Weitering. No Jack Silvani, you need your leader to step up, and he proceeds to have an almighty doozy when defensively we needed him most. Literally from minute 1, this guy was not assured in the air, and that was translating to what followed at ground level. I mean, Harry O'Farrell was making me feel more assured. This is just about the worst of the lot. Carlton do well to hold up the opposition. The entrant into the 50 spends over 10 seconds holding the ball. So it's a sat up long kick. Weitering reads the ball better, and Cadman and Brown are completely useless. Until of course the mark is spilled and Hogan ushers it to the open man. I mean, that is an absolute travesty of a goal to concede. The ultimate gut punch came in the form of a Weitering mare as well. GWS win the clearance, and why oh why when the ball gets over the back, does Weitering not just tap this ball over, or even be of the guys that he's trying to collect, but he fumbles it over the line. Haynes is open, but not accessible with Weitering getting pinned, and the play is kept alive, turning a Carlton advantage into, well, a raffle for GWS to kick one off the ground. This broke the camel's back. Carlton had kicked 2 in 2 minutes to get it into single digits, but this completely undid the hard work, down to a simple decision to not rush that ball over the line. Here's one by Adam Sard. He's alone off the back of stoppage here. I think the first mistake is established at the start. Man is a lefty and he is jogging towards the stoppage, a nailed on sentence for travelling 5 meters max with the ball, given the traffic, which is of course for Sard, very counterproductive. Carlton work well to find him on the outside, but hold out an extra 5 meters, you'll get a bit of carry. Actually give yourself a bit of time to compose. Darcy Jones does well to pressure off the ball, but what you then get from this kick is this outcome. Cody Angove, a third gamer but you wouldn't have known it by the way he played, has done well to work up to the contest and create an outnumber on the open side. The swap by Taylor opens this side up, and look, Carlton do well to actually kill the effects initially, but as we saw, IQ wasn't a strong suit on the weekend. I mean, when is it ever? So the closer it gets to goal, the more damage you risk from this IQ. The foreshadowing is there with these two Giants wide open as Carlton press the skinny side. Carlton don't deal with it in the air in a 2-on-1, which really needed to be communicated, and Adam Sard just bats it away right to the Giant we foreshadowed. If you can grab it with 2 hands over batting it to a dangerous spot, let alone one that really enables the Giants in this scenario, do it. so you can force a lockup and reset at worst. This is a bit of BS, but it shouldn't have landed there to start with. Saad has 2 absolute doozies, and I think we're a goal better off in a case where even one of these don't happen. Now, we knew how damaging momentum swings were and are at the end of quarters. Here's Carlton doing their best effort to ensure they don't inflict the damage. When Carlton possess an extra number over the back, this gives Carlton the perfect opportunity to kick a late goal on the stroke of half time. What happens? Well, Charlie is up the ground for starters, so he's not a factor in this sequence, leaving one spare a little further down for GWS. Hollands, he's not used. Probably the most viable option, but it should not be this way. One of your key forwards needs to lead at the ball. Should be Harry. He doesn't have 2 Giants covering his leading lane. All the Giants players are sitting back shoulder, knowing a typical Carlton play is to kick into space over the back. If you mark, say, 60 out, the other key forward should then be that final piece deeper, or as you flood in, maybe a Curnow can assist and hold others accountable. But instead, White kicks over the back, and it's an advantage killed. You won't see counter-attacking management like this anywhere else. And then there's this, which really sums up Carlton's lack of IQ. Sam Walsh takes a mark here. Clear right footer. There is not a single bloke leading, and really not a focal point down the line. Nothing of advantage, at least. I understand the intention in playing on, but it is not on. Not only is no one upfield trying to advantage themselves, but Walsh has disadvantaged himself as well. He realizes what he's done. This kick is the outcome, detrimental of course. The mark gets dropped and then the tackle gets broken, but all is not lost. Carlton somehow still have it. Harry very simply needs to give it off to a pacier player for a bit of run and carry, because he can't do it, evidently, as you will see in the next 10 seconds. Instead, he hesitates, he misses the window, and he heaves a dangerous handball more centrally with his non-dominant hand without even moving. He doesn't connect, and Carlton's men get sucked in, namely Mackay and Saad, who were both by Ward's side when the initial handball was released. No way in hell should this have been a goal, and yet it was. Here is a mixture of both the likes of Lord performing and the leaders falling flat both at once. So Carlton aren't assured aerially, but get the back 50 exit they're looking for. Cooper Lord in the centre at the start of the sequence has now relocated wide and is proactive. Well positioned and serves as support for De Koning, which forces Connor Ryden to roll up and pressure. That's an irrational ploy, and a sweeping hand pass enables a 3-on-1. A 2-on-1 where the ball is, and an extra in the middle to chain it all together. Lord allows this outnumber to occur. Here's the problem. Cripps acknowledges Hollands' presence, holds onto it for a good chunk of time, and all he needs to do is pivot and hit Hollands as he enters 50. Cripps not only does that, he doesn't honour a short pass to either key forward, which, granted, I don't know if that'd be smart anyway, as opposed to a kick top of the square to a key forward clearly lacking athleticism to get over Aaliyah. Hence, the McGovern move forward in the second half. Then you go further down the sequence as the Giants get it forward, but Carlton rebound back out of their 50. Lord finds himself in space as this back and forth game has both teams displaced. Lord laces out a beautiful pass to Harry Mackay, which I swear in a Carlton team is harder than it looks. However, Charlie, being so incredibly nonchalant, drops this mark and then proceeds to just belt the ball because he's placed himself under so much pressure. That is so incredibly wasteful, even if it may have just missed, spraying across the face of goal. These are leaders of the club. The concept of Lord's high performance mixed in with the failures of the leaders happen a couple of times actually, much to the detriment of Carlton's chances of winning. And so here, I just want to reverse things and look at things from a Giant perspective. On this example, the first misstep is, after marking, we've completely killed whatever impact we had from our defense rolling up, because we've handballed to Haynes with 0 width. Darcy Jones is on his hammer, and he's on his left non-dominant side. Saad really should have gone himself, or we should have sustained possession and recognised a handball receive wasn't on if this would be the outcome. you've got Curnow and Young ahead of the ball. This kick not utilising either target because of how short it fell is fairly catastrophic. Carlton do well to centralise, but the prime purpose of this is you've got tall timber top of the square. We've got Durden, Motlop, Lord, Fogarty, and De Koning. So notice Briggs. Very discreetly, he'll block De Koning's leap and kill off the only Carlton aerial threat. The spoil goes centrally, and GWS win a free kick afterward with the ability to rebound to either wing, given the position. And Carlton are now challenged into defending that, which they didn't do a good job of all game. If we go to the start, Lord's manning Thomas, Himmelberg and Carroll are here. When the kick exits, Weitering doesn't effectively kill it, and now Jacob Ware's gotten clear. His man Fogarty is still inside the forward 50. Basically, the second you don't kill that ball out of bounds and it goes over the back, there's an impending disaster. The spare gets negated, and you have left a first gamer covering way too much space, thus the reason he's caught napping. It was one simple block that sent the play into the Giants' hands, which changed this play entirely. And it's IQ that Carlton more often than not don't possess. In summary, Carlton will not win games of football if this is what our leaders are dishing up. This isn't to say that they were awful, and these moments are an indictment of how they played. But in terms of how impactful these moments were, they were incredibly damaging. And for that, you cannot ignore it for the difference it makes. They say footy is a mental game. The decision-making must see an improvement. Otherwise, this team will continue to bask in mediocrity as the decision-making continues to reflect that. What do you think? Was there another reason that Carlton fell short? Or maybe you think what we've discussed today is the root cause of the issues? On the flip side, how did you find Cooper Lord's performance? Let's fit a little bit of positivity into the comments as well. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be taking a breather before we return for the second half of the season. So enjoy the week off, stay safe, and bye for now.